guys, we look around and LeBron fever is happening. There's some reports out there. We talked about the reporting and everything and how people are moving around. But the question is, let's just assume they do get LeBron. Say he comes back. Dustin, does this make the Cleveland Cavaliers the favorite if they get LeBron and if that's the only move that they make?
If it's the only move they make, no, not the favorite. The second favorite.
But a bump up in with the ability to kind of compete.
Yeah, I mean, like I think you have to give a slight nod to the Knicks. Winning the East this year, the way that they did it, sweeping the Cavaliers, and then what they did against the Spurs in the finals, obviously very impressive. And and they're coming back, and they got some dudes up there. I love the way they play. It's hard to pick against them, but I do think that LeBron would certainly give this team that championship pedigree, maybe some of that on the court coaching they need in the postseason, and not the favorites, but close.
Jason, New York, a couple of years ago when they beat the Cavs, I felt like the Cavs, like literally should have been on paper on par with the Knicks, right? They talked about the lights being too bright, but I'm kind of with Dustin. Like they earned my respect. The way they played this year in the postseason with Cat, Bridges wouldn't miss, Anunoby wouldn't miss, Shamet wouldn't miss. Brunson was just lethal in the fourth quarter. Like they just really and the way Mike Brown had them playing, like they earned my respect. Like to me, I would like to say that LeBron coming and making the Cavs will be the favorite, but I can't just say that with the Knicks in the way they played.
I can. They're the favorite if LeBron comes back. I mean, Dustin knows the betting lines way better than I do, but I just look at them and say, like, the Knicks went on a world-class heater like we've never seen through the postseason, and all credit to them for that. I don't know that they can duplicate the shooting that they had again, and I just think with the talent that this Cavs roster has, just dropping LeBron in, if they're not going to have to give up a massive piece for him, and we talked about it in the first hour, never in my wildest dreams did I ever think LeBron would play on a minimum or on a mid-level or anything like that. And we'll see. We'll see if that comes to fruition, if he really does play for that little. But at this point in his career, if he's willing to take that much less, if you just drop him into this team, I think he's the best team in the East. Now, are they the favorites to beat San Antonio or Oklahoma or OKC? That's a different conversation.
Currently in the East, the Celtics are the favorite to win the conference. This is all like today. At this moment, this second, on July 1st.
Right.
Celtics are plus 260.
Yeah.
Knicks plus 320.
Yeah.
Raptors plus 800. Then the Heat 900, Pistons 900, Cavs 950. So that's all. I mean, Pistons, Cavs, Heat, Raptors all about the same for the third spot.
Yeah. The Raptors obviously probably took a huge leap with the Kawhi deal.
Sure.
Yeah, it's wild because the Heat got Giannis. Kawhi is with Toronto, and I gained a lot of respect for Scotty Barnes last year. So they built up, and then you take a look at the Detroit Pistons. I think that they're going to be better. They had some playoff woes, and the Cavs kind of, they kind of big broed them. The Detroit Pistons should have closed the Cavs out, but the Cavs, to their credit, they did what they needed to do and win a closeout game on the road. If you get LeBron, I think when it comes to your starting five, it becomes very formidable. The thing that stood out to me with James Harden was James Harden is not a guy that you could just give him the ball and say, go get your 30. That's not his game no more. You could tell it by the way he had turnovers and pressure. But if you get LeBron James and put him in that middle, and we talked about it earlier in the other show in WKYC, I think that tremendously helps Evan Mobley, just from a mental standpoint. Jared Allen. And before we talked about it, where possibly we would have to give up Jared Allen in a trade scenario to do it. If you're telling me I can put in 21 points, 6 rebounds, and 7 assists a game inside the Cleveland Cavaliers with Donovan Mitchell, I think their team. I don't think anybody wants to actually play. Now, the question from a basketball standpoint, Jason, is how the heck does that work? They had to get used to James Harden having the ball because he has it a lot. Donovan Mitchell is the guy who needs the ball, has it a lot. Do you believe that LeBron working in LA where Luka and some of those other guys were the number one or the number two options, do you think LeBron will be able to find a way to facilitate and figure out where his role is?
1,000,000%. He doesn't need to play with the ball in his hands. He will if he has to, but I don't think he's at the point in his career where he's willing to concede and give other guys the oxygen. It's interesting. It's fascinating to see if this does happen, what this offense looks like, and if they put the ball in Harden's hands and let him run things. We saw that didn't go so well at times in the postseason. So I don't know. That's something they'd have to figure out. But the key for me is being able to keep, if you're able to pull this off and keep J.A. and Evan to solidify the defense and keep that front court intact, because you're not going to get a whole lot of defense out of the other three. So you've still got to be able to guard and defend. And that's why, if you just drop LeBron in this team and you're able to keep Evan and Jarrett, LeBron is so good he can make it all work. You said it in the first hour, and I wholeheartedly agree. You will get the best version of Evan by having LeBron out there with him.
You know what's crazy, McNuggets? I'm going to ask you this question. Now, when Kenny Atkinson was brought back, I was like, nah, man, come on, man. Kenny, you fumbled the bag. Like, I was upset about it. But now that you mention this, and I'm going to throw this by you and see what you think. Kenny Atkinson's temperament and the way he goes about never really being contentious with his players, letting them figure it out, letting them have an input, letting them facilitate with each other and have input on what the team looks like. I actually think his personality might mesh well or the best in terms of what LeBron James is. James Harden said, I am the offense. Well, if James Harden said that, LeBron James is, I am the coach. I've always been a coach. I know where to put people in. I know where to get guys involved. How do you think it meshes with all these guys and Kenny Atkinson from your standpoint, because you've been around him and you've talked to him and his philosophy?
LeBron is the smartest basketball player I've ever watched play. Maybe the smartest of all time. And, I'm 33, so there's a big generation before me. Kenny's become a player's coach. He takes input from Donovan, from James on a regular basis. Hell, he let Max Strus teach the zone defense last year. He's very, hey, if you guys feel a certain way about a certain thing, you're the ones in the court. I'm going to listen to your advice. I'm going to listen to what you're seeing out there because I'm on the sidelines. You're the ones that are between the lines. I think LeBron would appreciate that. Jason, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I think he would like playing for a guy who isn't trying to dictate and force his particular style into something and more working around the talent was on the roster and taking input from his players. But you know LeBron better than I do, so I'll defer to you on that.
The difficulty in coaching LeBron is LeBron thinks he's the smartest on the team and he's smarter than the coach, and usually he's probably right.
Right.
So that presents a challenge. But I do think that Kenny, as Mike said, he is very collaborative in how he goes about these things. LeBron didn't care who the coach is. Like, he came back here for David Blatt.
Yeah, that is.
I also
correct.
think that Kenny would sort of find a way not to acquiesce to LeBron, but to kind of almost work with him. Like,
yeah,
hey,
I agree.
I mean, when we're talking about the high level that these guys are talking about playing at and coaching at, you have to put your ego to the side and be like, okay, like more eyeballs, more brain power on this. Like, let's try to figure this out together instead of having the ego of like, oh, it's my idea or your idea, whatever.
Yeah, and Kenny very much is that collaborative type of coach. So I don't think it would be an issue at all. And as we've seen, LeBron has no problem scratching a play in a huddle if he doesn't agree with the call.
AKA David Blatt versus the Bulls.
Yeah, that was wild.
It was wild.
That was crazy. I would say this. You would have a collection of, James Harden, say what you want. He understands the game, especially offensively. I don't think it would be a problem meshing with the personalities. The only thing that I would figure out is what do they have besides those guys. LeBron has always been great with shooters around him. You know, you look back and you go watch J.R. Smith and Shumpert and all of those guys, and you know, they
Kyrie,
hit big
K-Love,
shots.
Channing.
Yup, Channing. So what do you have if you do need to strip away some, you know, contracts? We've seen Dean Wade move. Keon Ellis is out of here. What else after those 5 do they have in terms of shooting and filling the rest of the roster? Because you don't want LeBron playing 40 minutes a night.
No.
I mean, I think it does. We saw Jalen sort of be impacted by Harden's arrival. I think it would sort of muck up Jalen's role a little bit on this team.
Yeah.
Sam Merrill would get the most wide open shots he's ever seen in his life.
Oh, listen, Super Sam, bro, you might as well just like, can you imagine?
Yeah. Sam would get a ton of open looks. You know, is Max redundant? And again, we have to see. Maybe they need Max to move the salary. I don't know. Again, I'm going by LeBron's money isn't important to him.
Right.
So let's figure out that part of it before you know who's left and who isn't. I do think, and LeBron's not the same player he was 10 years ago. That's important to keep in mind. But, you know, Channing did play an important role.
Huge.
Against certain teams. He absolutely
killed the Raptors and
killed
Hawks.
the Raptors, killed the Hawks. Unplayable against the Warriors.
Right.
So it's matchup dependent, right? How many times we said that on the show? Jared Allen is not. I mean, Channing Frye, if he says all the time, if I have my feet set and I'm open, it's in. And Jared Allen's not that player. Evan Mobley's not that player. As much as I have wanted him to become that type of 3-point shooter, it just hasn't been to that. So is there a big out there that they can go get who can fill that Channing type of role as a stretch 5? Who, when he has his feet set, it's a knockdown guarantee, knowing that you're not going to play him 30 minutes a night, 82 times a year. It's matchup dependent for the playoffs. I don't know if that guy exists or not. I'm just saying that was an important role that Channing filled at one time. So, and there's, you know, LeBron, again, he's not the same player that he was 10 years ago. He's defensively, he just doesn't guard.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to know that going in. That's why it's important. You know, we've talked about this on the show before. I can't remember if we talked about this in the first hour or not, but I've been consistent the last couple of weeks, and it's Jaylen Brown or it's LeBron. I don't think you can do both because they would be so bad defensively. They would be horrendous defensively. But if you plug LeBron in and you keep Evan, that to me is a better fit for this
What's
team
LeBron
going forward.
want, you think? I mean, if you're LeBron James, would you rather have the firepower of Jaylen Brown, or would you rather have a young player like Mobley who can do a lot of things, and you feel like, okay, I can unlock a lot of this kid's potential?
I honestly don't know because I
I
know
think that's the question.
I know how Jalen thinks the game, and I know LeBron respects that. I know they've had their issues in the past or whatever. I don't think that would play a big.
You put that aside.
Yeah, I don't think that would play a big role in it. But LeBron likes high IQ basketball players. He's talked about that multiple times. He loves guys who understand the game, who think the game the way he sees it. Is Evan that guy? I don't know, but Evan's really good defensively, and he gives this team something that they will sorely lack if he's not there, especially in this that we're talking about with LeBron. If LeBron comes,
Man, all I know is that's a big front court. I mean, Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, LeBron. LeBron obviously is not the defensive player he was, but I mean, if you're LeBron James and James Harden, it has to be a security blanket that you know. All we got to do is tell Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, hey, listen, somebody get by you. Hey, be a defender, be a racer, make up for the things that we don't do well out front. And I think that's just more appealing than just having just Jaylen Brown. I think that LeBron is just an overall better fit. Now it's messed up because now you got me like thinking like he already on the roster, man. Now I'm gonna be sad.
Long way to go.
Yeah, we got time.
Long way to go. But I mean, I think it's the Cavs or the Warriors at this point. I would be surprised if it's. You can make a case for the Heat. I would be surprised if it was the Heat.
Yeah.
I would be stunned if it was anybody else.
Yeah.
And again, guys change over the years, right? I had this conversation with him in 2018 when it became evident to me this was over. He was not coming back. And I said, how many's too many? Like, how many teams is too many teams to play for? And he did not think 3 was too many at that point. Obviously, he'd been on the Cavs and the Heat and back to the Cavs. But he said it does get to a point, 4, 5, 6, where it does sort of water down your legacy. I'd be curious to know how he answers that question now. That was his answer 9 years ago. I don't know how he would answer that now if you add a 4th team to it for 1 year, 2 years at the end.